What was the dirtiest, slimiest, most backstabbing thing you did and regret? When I was 17 I snuck into my neighbor's house with another friend when we knew he was out of town and stole his Xbox. It was incredibly dumb and not thought out. We were idiots. Cue to 10 years later. He's now my best friend and roommate. I actually told him this year and bought him a $400 TV as repayment. He didn't even care and was just happy that I came forward and that it still haunted me. I mean, that's pretty crappy, but good on you for paying him back. Me and my brother were cycling around. My bike broke down and my brother knew how to fix it, so we just stopped there while he fixes it for me. A couple of angry dogs surrounded us. I was 8, he was 7. I mounted his bike and ran for my life. Mine was still not working. I'm sorry. Your brother died a hero, fighting a pack of dogs. R.I.P. Art's brother. In middle school I was friends with the weird kid that nobody liked simply because nobody liked him, so it was up to me to remedy the situation. The other kids in school promptly peer pressured me to stop hanging out with him, so one day I just up and broke up our friendship simply because he wasn't cool enough. Middle schoolers are douchebags. As a kid I had a few different friends who lived in my neighborhood, as well as my best friend at the time. There was this one kid who lived 4 or 5 houses down from my best friend, so if my best friend wasn't home I'd go hang out with him until he got home. Not so bad except for the fact that I'll let him know this. If I ever saw my best friend's car drive by I'd say something horrible like, "Okay, my best friend is home now so I am gonna go play with him," and I'd mention hurtful stuff like how he was number 3 or 4 on my best friend list. Later his mom called my mom and told her how I made the kid cry buckets every single time I did this. And I did this a lot. But he never cried in front of me, so I never knew. I apologized because I really didn't mean to hurt his feelings. I was just young and honest. That, and he wasn't allowed out the house, so I'd always have to visit him and stay inside. It's not like I didn't invite him to come. He just couldn't. But yeah, real dong move on my part. After that I just slowly stopped going over there. Still don't know what happened to the kid. 7th grade. There was this girl I didn't like, Anna. Hated her. And there was this other girl I knew who liked to fight, Jasmine. One day, I went to the bathroom and wrote Jasmine as a fat B on the wall in Sharpie. Naturally, Jasmine saw it and went around demanding to know who wrote it. She got to me, and I told her Anna did it. She proceeded to beat the crap out of Anna at lunch that day. Poor girl ended up in the hospital and was too scared to press charges. I might have sent some proud mom to be gift boxes to my high school nemesis home requested by her when she put on weight. I was in kindergarten, so, like 5 maybe, and we had a new student with us that happened to be sitting next to me. She was extremely sensitive, taking everything she did wrong so hard, I could see tears forming in her eyes. My small mind wondered if I could make her cry, and started criticizing everything she did wrong. She started to cry, and I never felt so powerful. Kids are buttholes, man. Extreme sensitivity is a symptom of abuse in the home. My close friend's fiance confessed his love for me during college, and I accepted. I justified it by telling myself she and I were no longer friends. We had just had a bad argument and things were tense, but we would have been fine in a few weeks, and that he was planning on leaving her anyway. He ended their engagement and moved in with me. I ruined her life at the time, and hurt her badly. As I've gotten older I've felt increasingly bad about what I did to her. Maturity finally kicked in and kicked my butt emotionally. Him leaving me for another woman after 12 years of marriage was karma, and even though it hurts it's absolutely what I deserve. When I was in high school I was totally in love with this girl, all 4 years, crushing on her hard. I'll call her Jen. I tried to take it somewhere, but in all honesty, I was an overweight geek and pothead and probably wouldn't have dated me if I were her. But we did end up becoming friends, and I subjected myself to letting Jen vent about her boyfriends and all that crap. It was miserable. My junior year of high school we went to prom together as friends only, and I thought it was maybe my night to make something happen. Instead she spent all night hanging out with other people, leaving me to my own devices. So senior year comes around, and a really cute girl who was in my circle of friends asked me out to prom. I was flabbergasted. No girl had ever asked me out before, let alone to the biggest high school event aside from graduation. Not only was she cute, but we had a lot of the same interests, taste in music, all of that. Of course I say yes. So, 2 weeks until prom and Jen approaches me and says she doesn't have a date to prom and will I go with her, as friends. And I say yes. I cowardly tell the cute girl I couldn't go with her by asking her friends to tell her. She never talked to me again. Prom night rolls around. Jen looks great. Everyone is having fun. We are going to Jen's summer home after the prom to stay overnight along with 4 other prom couples. And we go to prom and she immediately ditches me to go dance and have fun with other people and ignores me the entire night. Every time I try to get some time with her she tells me she is sorry that she isn't feeling well. I ended up not even going to her summer home after. She took some other guy. I went to her friends and got horribly drunk. Happy ending to the story though. The cute girl who I treated like crap married her dream guy. Still feel like crap about it though. That sounds like the plot to a bad teen romance movie from the perspective of the bad guy. When I was 15, I had my first girlfriend. I lived in a sketchy part of town so we would just hang around indoors. She immigrated from India when she was 3, so she spoke perfect English but was bullied a bit so was shy. Because of this we never went past vertical kissing. But I always had condoms in a drawer just in case. I told my friends that I really wanted to have sex with her, since she was so nice and I would love her to be my first time. One day she comes round and says she ready. I can tell she's really worried, but I thought that it was because she was shy. I got a condom on and we were about to do it when she started crying. Logic overwhelmed 15-year-old boner and I told her she didn't have to do this. She got dressed and left after apologizing. Turns out some older kids pulled a knife on her outside my house and told her to frick me. I nearly raped someone. Even though it wasn't my fault it's still my worst moment. And I remember it every time I see her. We're friends now, not going out. WTF, that is so twisted. It's also weird, thankfully so, that they didn't rape her themselves. Makes zero sense but it at least turned out okay for her. You are a good person for not pressuring her in the heat of the moment when all the blood is in your penis. Back in high school I tripped someone. He was running past me, clopping away in his big leather shoes and pulled up socks. Standard uniform. His bag was bouncing around on his back. I can still hear his empty lunchbox shuffling around in it. I don't why I did it, but when he passed me I stuck my foot out and caught him on the leg. He came down and started crying. I immediately felt bad about it. He called me out on the spot, but I denied doing it. I told our classmates that he must have tripped on a crack in the pavement or something. Then I left him there and went to class. To this day I have no idea why I thought it would be a good idea to trip this guy. So James, if you're reading this, sorry buddy. One time in 6th grade I took a crap in the handicap stall and it clogged up. Not thinking anything about it, I proceeded to exit the stall and go wash my hands. As I was in the middle of humming the happy birthday tune, I saw a kid in a wheelchair out of the corner of my eye enter. I watch in the mirror as he looks into the handicapped stall and then look at the only person in the bathroom, me. I then say, "Wasn't me," and start hurrying out of the bathroom. And that is the reason I am going to heck. They really lowered the requirements for heck. I used to loot the video store I used to work at back in the day. I'd steal food, drinks, and tons of videos. I used to give videos to my friends just because. I'd wipe out late fees on the down low then pocket the cash. They had a massive amount of used videos for sale for which there was no inventory which I would sell, then pocket the cash. I spent the extra funds on weed, cigarettes, beer and junk food. It was probably the sleaziest I've ever been, and I am not proud of those days. You're the reason Blockbuster went out of business. I had a threesome with my friend's girlfriend and another girl. Then she broke up with him and started dating me. We were together for 6 years and got engaged. Then she cheated on me in April. I probably should have seen that coming. Whoa, you're a terrible person. When I was in 6th grade, I had a crush on this pretty blonde girl who was also in my grade. I asked her to be my girlfriend, and she declined my offer. So, I decided to date this really nice redhead instead. This redhead also had a pacemaker. A couple weeks later, I was at my best friend's house, and he invited the pretty blonde and her best friend over to hang out. We ended up playing spin the bottle. Eventually, there came a time where the pretty blonde and I had to kiss. So, being the thoughtful but pig-headed little crap that I was, I ran into my friend's house to use his phone to call the nice redhead. I had to break up with her before I could kiss the pretty blonde because I'm not a cheater. I then proceeded to break up with her over the phone, which caused her to sob uncontrollably. I apologized a few times and went back to playing spin the bottle. I eventually got to kiss the pretty blonde that evening. We started dating the next day too. Then, 2 weeks later, she dumped me to date my best friend. Karma. She's a bee. In middle school I spent a good year being friends with the weird kid in school so he'd trust me and give me the password to his RuneScape account, after which I promptly went on and stole all his items and never talked to him again. He had like rune armor and some runes and I thought I pulled the greatest heist ever : oh god. I used to pull the old if you stand under this glowing tree, unequip everything, drop your whole inventory, and press Alt F4 repeatedly, you'll double your gold every time you press it. People would fall for it every single time and I'd casually pick up all their stuff and walk away for a bit. A few weeks ago, I was just casually browsing my local grocery store's fine selection of steak when an old lady caned her way up to the counter. "What the heck is this?" she shouts, pointing at some salmon. "UHH, it looks like fish, mom," I casually state. She then picks up the package, pokes a hole in it and sniffs it like there's a line of coke in there. "Jesus Christ. This crap is spoiled," the lady screams. She drops the now ripped open raw salmon onto my sandals and canes away. Well, now I'm standing here dumbfounded as to what just happened, and my foot is covered in raw fish. The manager walks up and asks what happened. I explained the situation, and he apologizes, gives me a towel and sends me on my way. I grab some brats and make my way to check out. Guess who's there? The old lady. She was berating the cashier for not being able to count her cans of cat food properly, and was leaning on the counter. She had this hybrid cane thing with 3 legs on the bottom, so it was self-standing. I gently kicked the cane with my foot as she reached for it. The bee fell to the ground and cursed like a sailor. Nobody saw me do it. I even helped her up as she hit me, calling me a goddamn dirty Mexican. I'm white. I felt bad when I got to my car. She could have broken a hip. That was the wrong thing to do, but at the same time so right. What a bee. I worked in fast food and was working with a very bad manager who was just constantly rude to everyone and I really didn't like him. Someone called the store after previously coming through the drive-thru to complain about their order. They asked to speak with a manager. I knew this manager was on break, so I went to him and said, "There's a customer on the phone that would like to speak with you." He just looked at me and completely didn't acknowledge me at all and didn't move an inch to come and talk to this lady. So I went back and told the woman, "You're better off calling head office because we have very poor management here, and the manager on duty is refusing to speak with you." A report of this was made, I guess by head office, and sent to the general manager of the joint, who was very serious about customer service. Said rude manager was swiftly demoted from his manager position and down to just a regular frontline employee. He was embarrassed and stripped of his title in front of all the other employees. He walked right out the same day and never came back. I don't regret this though, to be honest. Some people are awful and shouldn't be managing people. It was his choice to quit. It's not like I got him fired. You did the right thing. We were having a family dinner and my sister was ragging on me about not having a summer job my senior year of high school. She was 2 years older and our parents forced her to have summer jobs since sophomore year. So I guess she thought I was getting off easy with our parents or something. I felt like she was attacking me, so I said I don't need a summer job because, unlike you, I don't need to pay for an abortion. She had one earlier that year and I swore I wouldn't tell. Makes me sick to this day. Such a disproportionate reaction. I ended up helping her pay for her second abortion when I became a lawyer though. Even Stevens. Nothing shows sibling love like paying for abortions. I come from South Africa when apartheid extreme racism against blacks was rife. Back then, pre-1994, It was not uncommon for white families to have black domestic servants that would live with your family or nearby. They would be the equivalent of a housemaid or nanny. I was 6 years old and had a big crush on my neighbor who also went to school with me, who was also 6. One day she came over to play at my house when mine and her parents were at work. The maid had a couple female friends over playing cards in the kitchen, while the neighbor and I were playing in my room. Somehow we ended up playing in my cupboard. Things got serious and it soon became a "I'll show you mine if you show me yours" sort of game. I went first, got my little 2-inch penis out of my pants and thought how lucky I was to get to see what she had in hers. But then she said, "I'll only show you mine if you go call Lena a kafir." For those who don't know what kafir means in South Africa, it is the single most offensive word you could call a black person. In the poor judgment of a 6-year-old and the eagerness to explore with my neighbor, I acted without thinking. I went straight into the kitchen and said it straight to Lena's face, "Lena, you're kafir," and ran straight back to the cupboard. In the few seconds I was looking face to each with my maid, I saw her jaw drop and her 2 friends rotated in their chairs gobsmacked. I ran away as quick as I could and got what my neighbor had promised me. It wasn't worth it. Shortly afterwards I could hear Lena sobbing and her friends trying to comfort her. My neighbor went back home and I stayed in the cupboard, terrified to talk to Lena again. Lena, our loyal maid who was essentially part of our family, quit the next day without explanation to my parents. I never saw her again after that. I still think about that day from time to time and it weighs heavily on me. I wish Lena could have known it was a stupid dare and I really loved her, like a second mother, and it was the racist little bee next door that stood me up to it. My family immigrated to New Zealand a year later to escape the racism and violence that South Africa was. Little did they know of the horrible words their son had said. If I saw Lena again today, I would give her a big hug and probably break down crying from guilt. One word can go a long way. I wonder if your parents have contact info. I'm sure she still remembers it happening and it might mean a lot if you apologized. In 7th grade, there was a kid named Chaz. Chaz was a douchebag. He claimed he smoked crystal M, was really overweight and made inappropriate jokes to everyone. But for some reason Chaz really liked me, and I didn't know why. He never did anything to hurt me, so I always just kinda went along with him. Ate lunch with him once or twice when he'd make a big deal out of we should hang out. I realized quickly that despite how much of a douchebag he was to everyone, he was really lonely, and that's why he clung to me when I merely tolerated him. But I knew everyone hated him and I knew why. One day in one of those classes you only go to like once a month to get your report card, Chaz, who's sitting across the desk from me, goes to use the restroom. When he comes back, I don't know why, but I can just see myself kicking the chair out from under him, just like all the pranks in those movies that are so funny. So I do it. I kick the chair out from under him and he falls flat on his butt, and the whole class just starts roaring with laughter. I can't put into words the look that was on Chaz's face when he sat up. Just so much embarrassment and hurt. And the worst part, he refused to blame me. He yelled at the people on either side of me, but never once tried to insinuate that I did it. That is the most ashamed I've ever been in myself. I'm sorry, Chaz. I got an executive assistant fired because she was annoying. When I was younger, I got a really good job at a bank that required frequent reports to senior management. These reports would take weeks of calculating data, doing complex statistics while waiting on creative to make infographics that would go into our presentation. The executive assistant to one of the directors would constantly criticize the work. She didn't understand what it was, so she'd say that it was too abstract, too complex and of little merit. She'd derail meetings. She felt that between her college diploma, big bust line and well done hair that she wasn't an EA but really an assistant executive and felt her opinion mattered. Well, she envisioned herself as some sort of marketing guru and would constantly write copy for promotions. It was terrible. She knew a promotion was coming up, not the kind of promotion you think, but still required marketing to disseminate a message. She knew who would be doing the promotion and got to that team and said that she would do it. Well, she did it alright. She threw in the wrong numbers and didn't go to FP&A or analytics for approval. Her copy was full of grammatical and information errors. I was supposed to read through her copy and fix her mistakes, but she wrote a snarky line in the email about how I should just forward this on. So I did, replete with errors. It went to creative, social and direct marketing. When everything was mocked up, it went for a review and audit and the errors were caught. Directors went down the line to figure out exactly who fricked up. They came to me and I showed the email from the executive assistant who name dropped a senior exec and told me to just forward it on. Next day, I see her cleaning out her desk while IT was pulling her computer and taking her phone. She looks at me and says, "Why didn't you do anything?" And I just smiled. She was young and thought she was brilliant. I could have easily put this onto the right channels and she'd probably still be an EA at a bank. But she was terminated on the spot, for cause. And from what I hear moved back in with her parents in a different region. I feel bad because I'll let her get to me. She wanted to show how smart she was and I simply took an easy shot at her. She didn't double check even the most basic of things, spelling. She wasn't exactly qualified to do her job considering that. I was staying over at my cousin's and he had a girl sneak into his room. They started fooling around and I pretended to not be awake. I wanted to see what a girl's penis looked like. I was shocked when I found out she didn't have one. It was inverted or something. 4th grade was not the same after that. In junior high I was called into the office because someone asked that I was selling speed. I kept denying it and they were not letting it go. So, I threw a kid I knew that had a bag of weed in his underwear under the bus. They let me go and saw him later. He was in the office laying on the floor cringing. His dad had him by the collar with a fist cocked back. Yeah, I was a huge butthole. Convinced my buddy to tell our mutual friend he had feelings for her, knowing she would shoot him down. So I could hook up with her guilt-free. Ruined their friendship so the guilt is there. I think it's worth mentioning that most of these stories are from people's childhoods. It's good to know we all learned from our mistakes. Let a good friend's ex convince me we should start hooking up without telling him. He had a good thing going with somebody else at the time and we figured that the two of us were just going to be a fling. But we dated in secret for a while and then it all blew up just as you'd expect. In 2006 I hacked, just guessed her super predictable password, an ex's email to prove she was hitting on another guy, then emailing the underwear pics she sent me to her super Christian mom. After a few years I felt like it was harder and harder for me to justify doing something that crappy. About 4 years ago we ended up talking again. We both explained ourselves and apologized for hurting each other. We're on good terms now. Constantly framed my brothers and pitted them against each other for my own amusement. The biggest examples are when my brother was learning cursive and I got mad at him for some reason. My parents had just redone the hallway and I traced one of his papers onto the wall to make it look like he was practicing on their freshly painted wall. He got spanked and insisted that he didn't do it. I didn't come clean for almost 15 years, and by then it was just a funny story about what a little C I was as a child. But my brother is a compulsive liar, and I think my childhood prank had something to do with that. With my youngest brother I knew he was afraid of the dark and again I was mad at my other brother. So when baby bro was using the bathroom with the door cracked open, he was also afraid of the toilet. I went in and turned the light off, flicked the lock and locked my screaming 5-year-old brother in the bathroom. Then I went and ran to my room and of course, parents never suspected it was their little princess so my brother got in trouble again. I was a terrible elder sister but they still love me for some reason. My behavior may or may not have encouraged my best friend to continue with his own dirtbag cheating ways. I wanted to be the cool best friend who just listened and didn't really say a thing because I'm leaving him to do his own thing. People got hurt. I could have ended it sooner but knew. I just had to be that cool best friend. Ugh. I feel gross. When I was young, I used to play Diablo 2 a lot. I convinced one of my friends that we should make a shared account so we could level our characters faster. I told him to make the account and password, hoping he would use the same password he used for his main account, and he did. I then waited for him to go to bed and stole all of his items and currency. I'm a bad person. You, my friend, are going to heck. Well played, mother, well played. Had an affair with a married man, and broke up his marriage. Course they got back together after that, and are now getting a divorce cause he got another chick pregnant the same time he got his soon-to-be ex-wife pregnant. I mean, you're not exactly the hero of the story, but it sounds like this guy had his own issues. Don't really regret it, but when I see people park like buttholes, taking up 4 spots to protect their new car or whatever, I sometimes ziptie a shopping cart to the car handle so they have to either cut it themselves or go get assistance from an employee and show their butthole parking to everyone. With my luck, if I were to try and do this, they would catch me in the act and flip their crap at me. Someone who I thought I was one of my best friends completely cut me out of his life and ignored me as much as he could. It was almost impossible because we worked together, but we managed. Anyways, he had a major thing for P, and he also went on Instagram and screenshotted pics to jerk off to. That included people we worked with. Before we had a falling out, he asked me to fix his computer, which I did. I backed up all his stuff, fixed it, and gave it back. Well, fast forward months later where I now hate him and I find that backup. I no longer work there, so what's the worst that could happen? Well, I kind of told and showed people that also worked there about it and they immediately hated him. I don't know how far it got, but I regret doing it because he trusted me with that and I betrayed it. I personally believe that just because someone hates you now doesn't mean you go and talk about their crap they trusted you with before they hated you. I am ashamed I broke my own morals. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.